In the heart of Texas, beneath skies heavy with grief and silence, Melania Trump stepped onto land still soaked in sorrow. On July 11, she walked side by side with President Donald Trump through the flood-ravaged hills of the Texas Hill Country, but this was no mere visit. This was a pilgrimage to pain. A journey to the broken. A day etched in memory, not for politics, but for people. Her eyes met the faces of those who had lost. Families displaced. Children clinging to hope. Elderly hands trembling from what they had seen. Entire lives washed away by nature's fury, now clinging to faith, community, and the faint hope of recovery. And among it all, she wore a bracelet. Simple, shimmering, full of meaning far deeper than diamonds. On her left wrist, it gleamed not as fashion but as tribute, a charm bracelet, gifted by grieving hands, offered with trembling sincerity. She did not accept it as a celebrity accepts a gift. She received it as a mother. As a woman. As someone willing, for a moment, to absorb a little of the ache. We just met with the wonderful families. We prayed with them. We hugged. We held hands, she said, her voice steady but soft, shaped by emotion not easily spoken. The room around her fell silent, not out of decorum, but reverence. This was not a soundbite. This was a confession of shared grief. They shared their stories, she continued, pausing for a breath that carried the weight of children's names never to be spoken again. And I met beautiful young ladies who gave me this special bracelet from the camp in honor of all the little girls who lost their lives. And in that moment, the bracelet transformed. It was no longer beads and metal. It was memory. A memorial on her wrist. A promise to carry the names of the lost wherever she would go. In a world often overwhelmed by speeches and ceremony, here was something simpler. Human. Honest. A woman not offering answers, but her presence. The devastation of the Texas floods had claimed more than homes. It had shaken the ground beneath communities rooted in strength and kinship. But as she moved among the wreckage, Melania Trump did not only see what was lost, she saw what remained: courage, community, compassion. She listened to mothers who had clung to rafters in the night, to fathers who dug with bare hands for loved ones, to children whose smiles flickered back despite it all. She did not rush them. She did not interrupt. She let them speak, and in doing so, gave them power. The Roundtable meeting with local officials was not just a display of leadership. It was an exchange of humanity. Between federal might and grassroots resilience. Between policy and pain. And through it all, the bracelet remained, dangling with grace, weighted with loss, shining with a deeper kind of beauty. It had been handed to her in faith. In trust. As if to say, carry this story with you. Do not let the world forget. It symbolized more than lives lost. It stood for young girls whose dreams were stolen by water, but whose spirits now lived on in symbols, in stories, in silver threads wrapped around the wrist of a First Lady. The camp that gifted it, a place of joy once filled with laughter and games, now bore the silence of absence. And yet from that space, from that hollowed campfire of memories, came a gesture of light. Melania Trump did not wear it for show. She wore it for them. For the names not spoken in press releases. For the faces not captured in headlines. For the little girls who danced once, and whose absence now dances in the wind. She didn't make declarations. She didn't offer platitudes. What she offered instead was something rarer: witness. She bore witness to their stories. Their loss. Their strength. And with every step, she let that bracelet remind her, and all of us, of what truly matters. And though the cameras flashed and news cycles churned, the moment refused to be reduced. It was not spectacle. It was sacred. This wasn't about political branding. This was about bearing the unbearable, together. This was about using public presence to hold private grief. This was about returning to Washington not just with policy plans, but with the pulse of Texas heartbreak beating on her wrist. As the floodwaters receded, what remained were symbols. Photographs. Letters. Empty bedrooms. And this bracelet, now carrying the weight of a state's sorrow. In that small gesture from a child to a First Lady, the entire arc of human dignity played out. Vulnerability met visibility. Grief met grace. And Melania Trump, often viewed from afar through layers of distance and image, for once was simply present, unguarded, moved, and moved by others. She left the room not with applause, but with purpose. Not with solutions, but with stories. And in the quiet that followed her, people whispered not about politics, but about presence. About how a woman, holding hands with survivors, remembered that before anything else, we are human. We are fragile. We are capable of empathy. And sometimes, all it takes to honor a life is to wear a bracelet, and to let it shine like a candle in the dark. She wore their story. She carried their sorrow. She honored the fallen, not in marble, but in memory. And in the aftermath of Texas storms, she brought no thunder.